if you've got a group there, you've got to be able to have some feel for who the best are and who aren't. I mean, it's really a quality that you're going to need. I mean, depending on what you want to do. I'm not saying you have to do it if you want to be in research or something like that. I don't think you need it. But I think if you're going to be, in leadership, you're going to need it.
We have a
yeah, please.
It's the one over here. I'm going to repeat it because of the video. Go ahead.
The problem is that here at Sloan, we're all in the top 25%. So.
The statement
let me
was.
stay with that though a minute, because the facts are.
Let me repeat it for the overflow. The statement was, here at Sloan, we're all in the top 25%, which, by the way, you aim too low. Top 20 is what you want.
And we always thought in G, we only hired 3.7 and above GPAs, and we were very proud of that. We had lots of people that, when you looked at that skewing, were in the bottom 10. And so I hate to tell you here, but some of you people at Sloan who were in the top 20% are in the bottom 10 of this group. That's the way it works.
You can't all be above average. Back in the back.
How do you evaluate your top 20, 70, and 10? We talk about that, but for your managers and your executives.
The question was to Jack, how did he evaluate the top 20, middle 70, and bottom 10? How did it work in practice?
Well, I had 4 times that the group I work with, I had a chance to write down what I liked about what they were doing and how they could improve. Every time they got a raise, I would never give anyone a raise without a small sheet of paper with what they're doing well and what they can improve. Every time they got a stock option, I would do the same thing. I would measure their performance. Every time they got a bonus, I would do the same thing. And every time we had the annual appraisal, I would do it. So 4 times, every one of my leaders, or my CEOs, would get an appraisal from me a year. Now they get some verbal ones in between. But basically, you were constantly, that's your job. So you're constantly getting on the same wavelength. In my last book, I wrote that no one who I ever asked to leave, and these were CEOs who went on to run other companies, but no one I ever asked to leave ever was surprised. And so the journalists ran everywhere to find somebody who was surprised. And they didn't find anybody, because it was a clear understanding between the two of us through many dialogues. Look, I know companies today in America that mail stock options to their employees without a conversation. I know some who get a new check stub in the mail, surprised that they got it, and their boss didn't have a discussion about it. It's frightening. I mean, Fortune 500 companies. So this is not silly stuff. If you're going to build the best team, you've got to be on it all the time. It's a huge job. Go ahead.
I have one point on this. The top 20% is not something inherent about people. It's more how you fit into an organization.
Perfect.
So maybe you might just elaborate on that.
No, and it's also not permanent. It's not stamped on your forehead.
I mean, the next time you get a job, you're in the top 20%.
And things can happen. You can have a family situation. You can have all kinds of upsets. You go through life's ups and downs, and you can feel differently about things. So this is not a, you're in it for life. This is an everyday, let's do it again. And what have you done for me lately type thing, you might think.
Let's see if there's one more on this, and then maybe we can...
on the
I have
subject.
one other thing on, which is, I think, an interesting thing, which is allocating time to do the things that are longer term while you're taken up with all the short-term issues that come up every day. How did you think about allocating your time? Not only necessarily as CEO, but also as you rose up through the organization.
As I rose up through the organization, most of my thinking was about getting it done then. As I became CEO, most of my time was about seeing how we were going to look 5 and 10 years from now, and thinking about resource allocation. I think the job of manager, though, is really that paradox, managing short and thinking long. It's one of the paradoxes of leadership, and that's why we have leaders, because anybody can manage short, squeeze it. Anybody can manage long. Just say, so sorry, I have no numbers now. I'm dreaming about the future. And, that doesn't sell for long on Wall Street. But there are that's the paradox. But from my standpoint, we had a pretty good calendar that gave us a good solid twice a year to spend a month just thinking long term. But always, every time you have a meeting, like this may not, every time we had a strategy review, for example, we were really having a human resource evaluation too. If you get a headset that every time you meet with somebody, it's all about how well are they saying things, how well are they going, where can they go next. If that's your headset, if that's really your job, even your strategy reviews are people reviews. Because anybody's, I mean, when your professors have you in the class and you start doing things, you have a complete, they have a chance to evaluate you as well as teach you the course. So you got to have that dual dynamic going on all the time.
Let me pose a question to you from the audience. Someone asks, who are your role models and who do you consider some of today's greatest business leaders?
Look, role models, I think of mentors in more ways than that. I really had, when you get out of school here, you probably had some mentors here. You got to see everyone as a mentor. Your whole crowd, somebody who works for you might be a mentor. I remember when I became CEO, I was not a great financial wizard. I never did become a financial wizard, but at least I had this fellow who worked for me, 10 years my junior, 33 years old, who I made CFO. He basically dumped his brain into mine. I lived with him as we went through all the stuff, left side, right side, et cetera, on the balance sheet from A to Z. And he was an enormously valuable person. I've had people who were on my board who were completely committed to our success, who would challenge every people appointment I would make, who would ask me, are you sure? Are you right? I think the business media is a great mentor. You may laugh at that, but I think Fortune, Business Week, there's a business language. I find them mentors. Read every story. I can't understand why somebody can be in business and not read all those stories. I think you learn what strategies didn't work, did work. Some of the stories aren't quite accurate, some of them aren't true, so what? You're constantly learning the rhythm of business. So education and teaching is all around you. As far as today's leaders, we have an enormous cadre. People today are just better than they were before. It's more competitive. It's no longer, when you become CEO today, it's no longer the coronation. It's the beginning of a new competitive career. I remember in 1980, when I became CEO, I would go to these meetings where people would sit around and they had briefing books prepared by huge staffs, and they'd pontificate about the economy and this other nonsense stuff. Meant nothing. They're just mouthing words. It was ridiculous. Now today, people are in shirt sleeves, getting in there and doing it because the global competition is so tough. But there's Procter & Gamble's doing a great job these days. Jeff Immelt, my successor, is doing a great job. 3M with Jim McNerney is doing a great job. Home Depot, Lowe's. Walmart is doing a hell of a job. They may be getting beat up in the press, but I was down at Walmart with my wife on Saturday morning for their Saturday morning meeting, and they don't read the New York Times. They're not wallowing in the Wall Street Journal. They're out there just selling goods and doing it with great value, with real execution. Fabulous organization, doing a great job.
They do execute.
Jack, we have a good question from somebody in the audience. How should a young corporate manager think about balancing the desire to be bold and take decisive action with a need to manage risks early in her career? This resonates with me because I had to start a company to hold on to a job. So.
Well, why don't you answer it then?
That's not fair.
It's your show.
But it's your house. No, I would say this. I would say err on the side of bold. I mean, if you're young and you've got all these options based on this wonderful background you've achieved, take the risks, take the swings. Be cautious later in life. You got plenty of time to make mistakes, take swings, get in the arena, enjoy it. So if that were the now, why don't you give your?
Well, I mean, I got fired 3 times. So.
Because you took swings.
I took a swing. Yeah.
And I blew up a factory. Blew the roof off it, almost got fired.